In any corner of our planet, you can find interesting and exciting phenomena of nature. Some of them we know well, such as the aurora, for example. Others are not so clear or widespread and hide in the depths of forests and oceans. Some of these phenomena we can only see in exotic countries and inaccessible places, but you do not always have to travel that far. Luckily, we can see some of them even in our own backyard. Murmuration. What kind of strange dark cloud is it that twists into a spiral, changes its shape and direction of flight? We can see this spectacular sight when thousands of tiny creatures stumble into huge flocks and begin to perform this aerial trick. The huge cloud shrinks, then expands, rising to the sky in huge spirals. But this is not a swarm of locusts and not some hard-to-explain phenomenon of nature. This is just a cluster of thousands of starlings. Starlings are ordinary birds that sing and feed on seeds and insects. They have brilliant black plumage, but these birds are often considered pests because they can cause damage to crops and they also can cause threats to aircraft. However, these little birds show their strength when there are a lot of them. At the beginning of the fall season, thousands and thousands of starlings come together and start performing the so-called starling dance. Sometimes they gather up to 100,000 individuals. In Somerset in 1999, they recorded a cluster of more than 6 million starlings. When they have gathered, they fly to look for places to sleep. Although this is a mesmerizing and breathtaking sight, it is not just a show. The birds provide their own safety this way, since it is much more difficult for predators to choose their target among several thousands. More than that, a large flock allows birds to provide themselves with a warmer night in the colder months. But in the daytime, birds can share information about food sources. Starlings somehow understand how they need to fly correctly so as not to crash into each other. Their reaction time is 100 milliseconds, so they are clearly aware of the speed and direction of flight of the surrounding birds. In this case, the whole flock moves at a speed of more than 20 miles per hour. The Spotted Lake. There is a lake which seems to have been created by the imagination of a child. This lake is located in Canada near a small town called Osoyoos of British Columbia, and it looks like a lake from Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. The Spotted Lake is also called Lake Kliluk, and it is not an ordinary body of water. It seems that its surface is not smooth as usual, but the whole lake is covered with giant colored peas, and their color changes depending on the state of the water, from gray to bright blue. The fact is that the lake is full of sulfates of magnesium, calcium, sodium, and other mineral salts. They say that the waters of the lake contain the highest concentrations of mineral salts in the world. In summer, when it is hot, the water in the lake evaporates, the flat surface breaks up into separate small reservoirs, and the crystallized salts form bulkheads between them. Huge thickets of web. Imagine that all grass has some strange gray tint. In fact, it is covered with thin, transparent threads, and not only it, the same goes for bushes and even trees. This cover was created by thousands of tiny spiders that create paintings that resemble scenes from movies about haunted houses. Giant webs can reach 32 yards in length. Usually they appear after flooding or heavy rain, which makes spiders move to look for places that are more elevated. To do this, they release a thin thread and allow the wind to carry them like balloons. During such mass migrations, thousands of tiny spiders on their threads fly to a new place and land in the fields, scaring passers-by with the paintings they create. Fiery rainbow. Fiery rainbows are bright-colored spots among clouds that resemble outstretched wings or feathers. Unlike an ordinary rainbow, this phenomenon is much less common. They appear in the daylight when there are cirrus clouds in the sky. The sun should also be located high in the sky. More than that, ice crystals inside of the clouds should have a certain shape and should be located in the right direction. If the crystals are arranged correctly, then the sunlight will be refracted in them as in a prism, while creating an exciting multicolor picture. Desert roses. No, these are not petrified natural flowers. These roses were originally made from crystals. In arid sandy areas such as the Sahara Desert, these roses are formed from gypsum plates or barite crystals. For many tens or even hundreds of years, these plates and crystals have coalesced in such a way that their shapes show resemblance to flower petals. When precipitation falls over the desert, water is instantly absorbed into the sand. If the sands are rich in gypsum, the components of this mineral are washed out and go deep with the water. In this case, the solution heats up quickly and evaporates. After complete evaporation of water, gypsum crystals in the form of flat plates appear. They can be up to 3 feet thick. You can even find whole clusters of roses that look like a sandy bouquet. The Tricolored crater lakes. There are 3 crater lakes located at the foot of Mount Kelimutu in Indonesia. Local people consider it the place of the souls of the dead. Due to their unusual appearance, the lakes really seem to be otherworldly. This is not all. The lakes also have the supernatural ability to change their colors at any time. Sometimes the water in the lakes becomes white, black, brown, and turquoise. All this seems to happen by magic. While bacteria are usually the cause of different colors of other lakes, the colors of these lakes have received no explanation so far. However, the most popular hypothesis is that the reason is the interaction of the mineral salts which the lake contain with volcanic ash. Heavenly oceans. It is not surprising that we see rolling waves on the ocean, but is it possible to see something similar in the sky? It turns out, yes. Waves floating high in the sky can be seen during a phenomenon called Kelvin-Helmholtz instability. It happens when 2 airstreams going at different speeds collide with each other. In this case, the clouds bend so that they show resemblance to sea waves in shape. But this sight is short-lived. Due to wind and heat, the cloud evaporates quickly, leaving behind nothing but pleasant memories. Striped icebergs. Antarctica is known for its majestic white icebergs, glaciers, and caves. However, some of the icebergs are not quite ordinary. They seem to be covered in many black, brown, yellow, and blue stripes. Icebergs with such an unusual color, similar to giant semi-precious stones, are formed when pieces of freshwater ice come into contact with seawater under them. Seawater, which contains salts and minerals, freezes to ice and forms beautiful dark stripes on it. As the iceberg spins at the will of the waves and the wind, the colored stripes are further deformed into a variety of patterns. For example, blue streaks form when frozen water forces air out of white ice. If seawater contains algae, then streaks of green are obtained. Because of all this, striped icebergs appear. Umbrella leaf. The flowers of this plant are quite curious. Their usually white petals become transparent, like glass, when they come in contact with water. So during normal showers, normal, seemingly white flowers suddenly become like crystals. All this is connected with the cellular structure of the petals. On rainy days, water is absorbed into the petals and increases their light transmission, which gives the flowers a transparent look. After the water dries up, their white color returns to the flowers. They grow on cold forest slopes and are found only in 3 places on Earth: in China, Japan, and the Appalachians. Scientists from China have found them useful. They create a transparent substance with a grease-repellent surface. This thing is used to create glasses for diving and other optical instruments. Blood waterfall in Antarctica. This waterfall is located in the dry valleys of McMurdo. Its water has such a bright scarlet hue that it seems as if a blood-colored river flows from the glacier. Fortunately, the reason for this phenomenon is not so terrible. 2 million years ago, the Taylor Glacier covered an underground lake that remained inside the glacier and created a community of microorganisms that was essentially isolated from the rest of the world. Even without sunlight, heat, and oxygen, microbes could develop and live, thus proving the ability of life to adapt even in the most extreme conditions of the Earth. In the end, the water from the lake managed to find a crack in the ice, and this way the flowing water formed the waterfall. The water has a red color due to the high concentration of iron salts in it, which also explains the reason why the water does not freeze inside the ice tunnel. Well, that's all for today. Do not forget to like if you learned something new and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. Bye!